Welcome to SuperTalk Outdoors, where every single Monday at lunchtime we celebrate the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi, because this is the capital of the outdoors in America. I want to thank you for joining us on the powerful SuperTalk Mississippi Radio Network, on SuperTalk TV at C Spire TV, or your favorite podcast or social media platform. You know, as I say every week, we try to be there whenever you want to engage in the show. And we really appreciate when you do that. It's August the 18th, 2025. It's that time of year. We're all out, getting ready for hunting season. We've been working with our buddy Chuck Mims up at our farm, one of the farms that we lease, doing some dozer work, cleaning up some roads, creating some new roads. We've added a couple of new food plots. I've worked with Chuck over a bunch of years, man. And it's awesome when you've got a bulldozer guy who's also a hunter, because you don't have to give him many instructions. You show them about where you want the food plot, and they go in there and they do their magic. And Chuck's the guy who does the magic, and we're excited about Chuck and the work that he's doing up there. It's that time of year. And, when you get to thinking about that time of year, I got to get my buddy Lake Pickle back on, who's descriptions continue to change, man. As you learned from the last time we talked, he's with Backwoods University Podcast at MeatEater. He's a co-host of Speak the Language Podcast. He's the marketing manager of onX Hunt, and he is a busy dude. If you follow him on social media, you know that to be the case. Anyway, how you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm fantastic. It's good to be here as always, and like you were saying, fall is not in this great distance anymore. It's on a near horizon, and man, it's just a great time of year. It's just on the cusp of it. Everyone's starting to think about hunting. They're starting to prep for hunting. Trail cameras are going up. People are thinking about dove season. It's just an exciting time of year.
Yeah, it's special. And what's interesting, you and I, the last time we talked a little bit about the evolution of Backwoods University. And we'll come back to that in just a second and talk about your recent focus. But, with the Speak the Language podcast, and now working with MeatEater, and certainly with onX Hunts, Lord, you've got this, this national view across all three of those platforms. But you live in Mississippi, you have a tendency to come back to Mississippi, even in your work with Primos over all those years, this tremendous opportunity that you had to see how special Mississippi was. You get to see that all across America, people are really looking forward to hunting season. That's part of the culture of America. But there's something special that's going on in Mississippi, and this is that time of year, isn't it?
Oh, most definitely, man. It's I think you can inherently, growing up in a place, it's easy to forget or kind of like lose sight of how special a place is because you're around it all the time. And so I love traveling around. I love seeing different, hunting opportunities and different conservation efforts all around the country, outside of the country even. But when you come back home and see someone really grow an appreciation for the hunting traditions here and the really original and huge conservation undertakings that are happening right here in Mississippi. I mean, it's too good to not celebrate it and share the story of it,
Yeah, I've of course, something you've talked about, you've lived it, but the notion of the southern white-tailed deer hunting experience. There are others like it, but there's something special about it, isn't there?
Oh yeah, man. And like I said, I've grown such a more, what's the word? Like a more zoomed out appreciation of it after, because you start learning about it. Like last year, Jordan and I did that big dig deep episode with William McKinley, where you learn about how we legitimately almost did not have white-tailed deer to hunt. Like that happened. We almost lost them. And then thanks to people like Fannie Cook, thanks to people like the first wildlife biologists and game wards in this state, we have over 1.5 million now, and it's this celebrated thing, and it's crazy. And when you learn that much about the backstory and where it came from, you can't help but appreciate it more.
I actually had William McKinley on last week with Pierce Young. William McKinley, head of the deer program from Mississippi, and Pierce Young, who is involved deeply in the private lands program. Both of them, I mean, listen, great leaders in the outdoors community in this state. I mean, they're top notch. Some of the most significant leaders inside the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. But we had a really terrific conversation about the population of deer in Mississippi. We brought up chronic wasting disease again, and just the reality that we've got to stay on top of it. I know that the commission and others are staying focused on it, and we'll continue to have to think about the latest data and what it's telling us. We talked about one of the interesting things is Mississippi is the only state in the nation that doesn't have county specific harvest data. It's amazing to me. So we're such a leader in all these areas, particularly in the white-tailed deer arena, really a national leader. And we don't have the ability to do county specific harvest data. Now, I do know this, that the chairman of both the House Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks Committee and the Senate Committee are very focused on that being like a high priority for this next legislative session. So hopefully we can get it done. But we're lucky to have leaders like this in the state who are going to make sure we never have that situation you talked about where white-tailed deer were nearly wiped out. It's literally one of the most significant outdoors economic engines in this state now.
Yeah, man, and it's true. And so I think about that all the time, and I've used it as a talking point, when talking about like what you were mentioning about having county specific data. I think that's vital information, important information for us to have. The more information you give your biologist to work with, the better off all of us are. And I bring that up a lot because, again, going back to zooming out and knowing history, like when all this was going on, when Fannie Cook was establishing the game department, when they were trying to restock deer, they met friction. There was people that came up with questions. There was people that didn't agree with the way that they were doing it. And so I tell folks, I'm like, when you hear anytime there's new legislation or new laws, there's always some sort of pushback, seems to be. And what I always tell folks is I'm like, man, look, like our biologists are working for you, and they're not the government. Like, we are the government. I believe in we the people kind of thing, and there's just too much proof in the pudding from our state specifically. Like if you just talk about our state, there's way too much proof and facts to back up that when we arm our biologists and our wildlife department with more information, it works out better for everybody. The deer hunters, the farmers, everyone.
Hey, listen, it's interesting. Something came up in the conversation with Pierce and William last week, and it was the use, how it came up that we were talking about the use of drones to do population estimates on deer. And Pierce made it very clear that there's really no standardized approach to doing population studies using drones, and says we're a little bit off. I mean, maybe at some point we'll be able to do that, but we're a little bit off on, having a solid approach to doing population measurements. And I really take what he and William have to say as gospel. They know pretty well what the best practices are. But in the conversation, though, we ended up getting into a discussion about the use of thermo drones to aid hunting. And I was really pleased to see that Mississippi has passed legislation, has a regulation 49-7-95, which prohibited the use of thermo devices in connection with hunting. And essentially, you could also, by the way, be charged with just a general hunting violation as well. But they say I went and looked, and it is literally a Class 1 violation, $2,000 to $5,000 fine, loss of hunting privileges for 1 to 3 years. It's great to see Mississippi getting ahead on this, because these new tools do make hunting incredibly unethical. People should just know that in their hearts, but unfortunately some don't. And we've got to have laws to legislate it. Are you seeing that conversation across America as you get around?
Across America is a good way to phrase it. You have drones come out. You have this new capability given to just like the masses that we didn't have before, right? And I can't remember who told me, but it was like when drones first came out, people were like, "This is going to become an issue in the hunting space." And I was like, I hadn't thought about that. And this is when we were just using them to get footage for, filming for Primo stuff, like just getting aerial footage of the camp we were staying in or whatever. But all over the country, this is becoming an issue, and it's an issue. It's a big issue. It's one that I applaud Mississippi and other states that like did not drag their feet on this, because it's such a significant, like it can be a game changer. Like you can make hunting lopsided real quick if you don't regulate this.
Hey, I'll tell you what, we'll pick it up right here on the other side. But technology, that's what technology does. It creates new loopholes that we can take advantage of. And it brings us back to ethical hunting and what the goal of hunting really is. We'll continue our conversation with Lake Pickle on the other side. We'll see you. Welcome back to SuperTalk Outdoors. Listen, are you looking to purchase your perfect piece of hunting property, upgrade your farm equipment, or have you been dreaming of owning your slice of heaven out in the country? Don't we all? Look no further than Mississippi Land Bank for your financing needs. For more than 100 years, farming families and landowners in North Mississippi have turned to Mississippi Land Bank for all kinds of financial solutions, whether it's for land, equipment, or livestock. For more information, visit mslandbank.com or go by and see one of their friendly staff at any of their offices. We're just thrilled to have Mississippi Land Bank as a sponsor of SuperTalk Outdoors. Now let's get back to my friend Lake Pickle. You know him from his Primos days. He now is the co-host of the Speak the Language podcast. He's also got Backwoods University Podcast and MeatEater, and he's also the marketing manager for onX Hunt. So he's a busy dude. Hey, let's just kind of finish this conversation about the use of drones. As I mentioned before we went to break, it just really comes back to ethical hunting. What is ethical hunting?
Yeah. Yeah, it really does, man. And you have to define that line. And like I said, there's ways that drones can be used in a hunting ballpark, so to speak, that can be beneficial and ethical. And using, like, an obvious example here, using a drone to spot a buck and then like pretty much directly going in and shooting that buck. I mean, I don't think anyone could really argue with me that that's an ethical way to go about doing that. And you have to set that precedent.
Yeah. I'm glad Mississippi got ahead of it. That's for sure. Listen, Backwoods University, what a great extension to your life, but it brings you to a stage. I mean, listen, Speak the Language podcast was strong, but what's happening at MeatEater is a class by itself, isn't it?
Yeah, man, it is. I told my wife the day that I got the phone call to do this with MeatEater, I was like, this is the curveball that I did not see coming, but I'm happy it came. It's a lot of work. I've never had to put so much research emphasis into a podcast just because of the way that it's structured and just kind of the way that we just do the episodes. But it's not, I don't say that in a complaining way at all. Like it's been so gratifying when we have an episode come out and I feel like I'm, able to do a story justice. So it's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun. I've so enjoyed it.
Well, that work, I mean, it's interesting because it's the same as I think about this show or my other show. The more people I meet, the more I learn from them, the more I prep for them. It broadens the conversation with other guests, and it makes me want to focus more on this issue or that issue that maybe I wouldn't have even known had I not done more homework as it relates to that. So, even in your onX work, it creates opportunities to have conversations with people that maybe probably wouldn't even happen. And I can only imagine what it's done for the Speak the Language podcast, but you're getting to be a smarter guy as a result of it, aren't you?
I try to be. I get to talk to a lot of smart people, and some of the stuff, man, honestly, it feels important. I don't know if it's as important as it feels, but it feels important to me. Like, for instance, the previous episode was on the conservation history of black bears in Mississippi. And to me personally, it bothers me when I get on social media and I see one of two things: Mississippi residents that, one, don't know black bears are in Mississippi, or two, think that black bears in Mississippi are similar to the Colorado wolf thing and they were wiped out, and then the Department of Wildlife physically brought bears in here and turned them loose and reintroduced them. Neither of those things are true. Like, bears have been here from the beginning and they're expanding naturally. And I think it's an incredible conservation story. And I look at it as it's such a cool opportunity to be able to tell something like that. Going back to what we were talking earlier, is just what we have going on here in Mississippi in the outdoor world is so special and unique. And it's just a privilege to be able to tell stories like that.
And to be able to tell that Mississippi story to the rest of the country. Yeah, we've got, I look back over the years, we've gotten from time to time a bear on a camera, and just passing through, not hanging around. I mean, their territory can be dramatically large, can it, Lake?
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm learning is like how much they can range, especially the younger age males. But they're just such an interesting animal, and they're a resource, man. Like, go again, zoom out and see our past history. Like, bears almost got pushed to extinction because of market hunting and fur trade. They were essentially, not, like I said, I tell people, like, I'm not going to say that they can't be a nuisance. They can be, just like a white-tailed deer can be to a farmer. I'm not denying that at all. But they were sought after as a game animal for their meat and their fur. They were over-enjoyed as a resource. And so the possibility that a conservation story like that can come all the way back around to us having a hunting season here in Mississippi, like, come on, man. That is a celebration to be had.
Hey, you mentioned pollinators. People don't typically think of pollinators as a wildlife conservation story, but it's something that you chose to focus on, and it's a critical part of our ecosystem. And it's cool to kind of get your head around that, isn't it?
Man, so picture this, because this happened. Me, put on a beekeeping suit and went to my wife's lifelong best friend. Her mother, Miss Linda Easterling, is a beekeeper. So I suited up in a beekeeping suit, and we went out there and checked beehives. Bees flying all around and checking out honey supers, and had 3 bees fly into my head net. None of them stung me, thankfully. But here's one thing. It's like, again, people, you can't, I say this all the time, you can't love or appreciate what you don't understand. Pollinators are essential to agricultural yields, to native plant success. It can affect directly the hunting quality on your property. And people don't think about it because they're small. But I can nerd out on this stuff, man. And I didn't know, honestly, honeybees aren't a native insect here. That's like a lot of folks don't know that. Like, Europeans brought them over here. They're not a native animal, but we've caused so much harm to our native pollinators. Now we celebrate honeybees because they're pulling the weight of a lot of the things that we wiped out.
Isn't that interesting? Especially when you consider how critical they are to the ecosystem. We just don't, we don't think enough about how all these things fit together, man. The holistic impact of all these things and how they live together and rely on each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's fun too, because some of the stuff, like in these episodes, they patch together, even though I don't plan them to. Like, it was Mississippi black bears. And then today it's pollinators. And she's telling me that, like, honeybees were brought over in the 1600s. And I'm like, wait. And last episode, I'm talking about bears, and there's a historical record of a Mississippi Delta pioneer using wild honey in the 1800s. So I'm like, in less than 200 years' time, colonies of honeybees made their way down to where this dude's making regular use of wild honey in the Mississippi Delta. And then, they're all over the country now. So it's crazy when you just take the time to think about it. And again, I get excited about this stuff, as you can tell.
Well, how's your onX hunt world these days?
Dude, it's ramping up this time of year with fall coming in. We just got LiDAR put into the app, which is fun. People are really, really, really excited about that one. And then we're constantly trying to do things just to make it better, man, to make it more usable and efficient for the people that use the app. And so LiDAR is an exciting one. Collaborative folders is an exciting one. To my Deer Club or Deer Lease members out there listening to this, you can basically like build a property on the map, and you can add all the members or leaseholders or club members to it, and everyone can, edit that map and add things to that map, so you can all be on the same page about everything. That one's a really cool one. But yeah, onX is super busy this time of year, but it's fun. Like I said, I dare not complain about any of this stuff. It's busy, but it's good.
And last but certainly not least, the Speak the Language podcast. Glad you got that thing rolling again.
Man, for sure. So what Jordan and I are doing, and I know you'll appreciate this, like, we certainly still have a broad reach with that show just because of, the Primo's name that it had for years. But our base has always been Mississippi. And so what we've been doing is just really drilling down into local stuff, local news, just local stories. It's evolved. Like, there's Jordan talks a lot on there about land management and stuff like that now, but it's doing great. And same thing as onX. Like our listeners are ramping up this time of year because everybody's starting to think about hunting season.
Yeah, everybody's looking for that edge. But it's entertaining. It's entertaining to hear two guys like you and Jordan talk about what you love and your passion. People share that passion, and they're looking through you guys to get reconnected with that time in their lives. They're coming from the busy world that they're in now to, trying to get in that hunting mindset, and you guys help them do that in such a wonderful, kind of down-to-earth way. Lake, it's been a pleasure to spend some time with you, my friend.
Always a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on.
This has been Lake Pickle. Hey, when we come back on the other side, we're going to talk about camping. We'll see you after this.